Okay, so I'm going to show you some tier 15 yellow map footage. I was able to do all of the ascendancies, both the Sanctum super annoying one on melee with this build. I was able to do the ultimatum one as well, killing the trial master. I'm in tier 15 maps, can clear maps fairly quickly, still almost one-shot bosses, but this build is much tankier than the previous iteration, clears much faster, and actually as a shield added, I'm just much happier with this version of the build, and I wanted to wait. People were asking me all the time, but I wanted to wait a little bit to make sure I could clear in-game maps and everything was going smooth with this. So I'm going to show you some gameplay footage, and then I'm going to walk you through the entirety of the build and answer the most common questions I get every single day about this build.
I need more time.
Okay, this is my updated build. Now, previously I did this one-shot Sunder build. That was kind of like my first iteration of my character. It had a couple of problems with this build. Namely, the Sunder Slam is great for single target, not so great for like constant AoE clear. You'll notice in the gameplay, like I'm still using it for clear, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But it's more like a single target, like you're trying to get an elite mob or a boss or something, and the windup's so long that you get killed in the middle of the swing sometimes. And plus, it doesn't really have like too much behind you, etc. So I replaced my clear. I knew I needed a new clear move. Ended up using Stampede instead, and we'll talk about the gems in just a second. And what this does is charges forward, so you're like moving forward and you're actively like crushing through the map. But then you also get like a pretty big AoE. Now, before, what I was doing to make Sunder do the one shot is we were doing like this thing where we basic attack in order to armor break them when they were heavy stunned, but we still have that same concept, but this time it's in Stampede, where it triggers an explosion when they're fully broken for armor. We have Devastate, which fully breaks armor when they're heavy stunned. We still have Overpower, which causes more stun buildup, so we're like stampeding through the people, they're getting stunned, they're getting armor broken, and they're exploding because of that. And then we have a shockwave that happens behind us from Stomping Ground, and then Jagged Ground, 50% chance to create Jagged Ground, and when it creates Jagged Ground, then you have an explosion that happens from that as well. So this is sort of basically just like kind of an AoE clear type of move to help us get through some like trash mobs. And then when we get to those big yellow mobs, we end up using our Sunder, and we end up using the Hammer of the Gods, and we hold the shield up to like kind of block. We're waiting for the Hammer of the Gods. Now you might be wondering, whoa, how did you get a shield on? You weren't using a shield before. We actually changed our passive tree a lot. So before we get into this and explain that, let me just show you Sunder real quick. We're using Sunder with Heavy Swing for more damage. We're using Upheaval to create the extra fissures, and that way you can kind of hit bosses multiple times. This is where like a lot of our boss damage is coming from hits, and just a whole bunch of times like one shots boss mobs still, because we're kind of overkilling mobs most of the time when it comes to boss mobs in particular. We're using Bloodlust, which if they are bleeding, and we'll talk about the bleeding in just a moment, we do additional damage as well. Heft, 30% more physical, and then Brutality, 35% more physical. So just a whole bunch of physical damage, basically. Now we pair that with a two-handed mace that has really high physical damage, and you're going to notice that it's flat physical percentage plus to melee bonus skills, and it's a two-hander, but we're using it one-handed. That is because on our passive tree, tree, we are actually using Giant's Blood. So we've changed around the passive tree a bit from the previous iteration, and we're going to go over these changes. Now, before we were using Surprising Strength for more damage against heavy stun enemies, we were really relying on the enemies to be heavy stun to get our damage, which works great on bosses. You don't really need all that damage. We need to stay alive. So what we actually ended up doing is I took away this and I added in Hulking Form. You're going to notice we finished all of the Ascendancies. We're on tier 15 maps. We've cleared all the Ascendancies. We can kill bosses. We can do pretty much any of the challenges that I've faced so far, at least in the game, and we're pretty solidly into in-game at this point. I also took the 15% more life and the more armor just for some more bonus. You can go life first for sure, and then either armor, or you could go Earthbreaker for the slam. The reason I am going this, though, is because you get 4% more strength, 4% more strength, and you get the increased effect of small passives, which is going to give us more strength. We'll talk about in a second. You also get this nice little inventory right here from the Colossal Capacity. Because we're taking Giant's Blood, which allows us to wear a two-handed mace as a one-hander, it does require a lot of strength. Triple attribute requirements of weapons, and this weapon requires 174 strength. We triple that, we're talking like I need, 520 strength. Well, I have 567 strength, and I'll show you how I got that strength, partly through the Ascendancy changes here, but also through the passive tree changes I'll show you. But that allows us also now to wear a shield. Well, shield recently got a change that is much better. Previously, shields, the passive block, and if you don't know what block does, incoming strikes and projectiles deal no damage when you block them, okay? Some, like the big red boss smashes, you can't block those, but like, your incoming attacks, you have a chance to block them. I got 48% chance to block. You can go up to 75% chance to block is the maximum, and you see there I got 48. And what it used to do is only block like the way you're facing, because you have a shield, right? But now it actually blocks 360 degrees. No matter what, you have that chance if something's going to hit you. You have someone sniping you in the back or hitting you in the back, you still actually have a chance to block. So this is a significant change to shield, and not only because of that, but because the shield itself has it's an additional armor spot. I got more resistances, more life, more armor. So being able to have Giant's Blood is hard to get the strength, but if we can make it work, your character is going to be significantly more tanky, and you'll get that block percentage chance as well, which is just going to help a whole bunch, and with survivability, especially when we start doing those bigger Sunder windups, for instance. So let's go over the passive tree changes. Now, I looked at Alk's tree. He did a couple changes that I like, so I took some of those. Besides that, I kept a lot of what I'm already running that I liked, but there were some good changes. He's running more bleed stuff, but what he did is he did this smart little, kind of a whoopsie-daisy right over here, where he kind of goes to the right and he grabs these attack speed nodes. So I did that because I also am grabbing these attack speed nodes here, and I just want a lot of attack speed because Sunder takes a while. So I decided to do the same thing here and also grab reduced critical bonuses here as well. Now, in order to have the strength, what I did was I grabbed these strength nodes here because 50% of these strength nodes, these are normally 8, but these go to 12, so you get a lot of strength there. We grab these strength nodes here as well, which give you 18 strength, 18 strength, 18 strength. I'm having mana problems because of how much mana it costs to cost Sunder, so because of that, I didn't take the final one. Even though it would give us more damage, it's 10% reduced max mana. It's another 46 missing mana. If I use my Sunder one time, it's quite a bit of mana just like that. So I'm kind of being wary of that. Now, I also, I dropped all of my immobilized and like stuff that's really, about if you've stunned recently, immobilized enemies from the stun, because we're not really relying on stun as much anymore. And instead, I picked up increased maximum life here with some more strength nodes and stun threshold. It's more just for the life and the strength than anything. I dropped these here, which was area of effect, grabbed these for area of effect, and then I actually over here, we grabbed heat proofing as well. This is what we were talking about if you saw the Dreamcore video on the live stream where he was kind of breaking down this, but this is really nice because armor applies to some of the fire damage, 25%. So it's kind of some more mitigation from fire damage in particular. You grab this for the empowered attack bonus damage. This also aggravates bleeds. I'm not really running bleeds. I did see Al Kaiser when I was looking at his tree and kind of comparing here to try to figure out if I wanted to make some changes. I noticed he's running a lot of bleed. I'm not running bleed. I'm not really running the jagged ground stuff. So I'm debatable whether or not I like this too much, but the empowered attack is like significant. This is like 60% more damage as well. And we do have a bleed, but I more use the bleed to make my Sunder be able to do more additional damage from Bloodlust. And we'll talk about the bleed in just a moment as well. So those are the changes there. Also, we need more strength, so I had to come all the way down here, which I don't like. I did grab some jewels along the way, and I grabbed Polymathy, which gives me 10% increased attributes. Okay, so that's sort of the tree at the moment as it stands. Drop the stun build up and just grab damage instead. Dropped a little bit of armor there because we're already pretty tanky. I got 71% armor here. The rest of the tree is basically the same, just the attack speed changes. Added these, removed that here as well, and then, had to grab strength so we can use Giant's Blood to get the shield. Besides that, the passive tree is pretty much the same. Going to go over the rest of the abilities here because that's something people asked for last time. So we have Mace Strike, and if you don't know, I'm not really using the basic attack at the moment. I'm sure we could do something with it. I'm not really using it, but Mace Strike, if you're wondering how you get more sockets on your weapon, the better the weapon, the more sockets you get on it, by the way, is how that works. I'm using Time of Need. This is actually very important, in my opinion, because it recovers life, but also removes curses and elemental elements, which is super nice because it's that constant cleanse, and it just 500 life is like a pretty good chunk that you get. And it's pretty common. You'll notice it's going to be happening in the background here. So I actually like that a good deal. If we quality this, we'll get 40 more additional life, and this is a level 18 gem at the moment. But this is why I'm using my spirit on here, right here. Obviously, we already went over the Sunder and Stampede nodes. Seismic Cry here. I'm using Seismic Cry where they daze, and if you don't know what daze does, right there, daze is going to help you with more stun buildup. So I like using daze for the bosses, but because all of our stun buildup is really here on Stampede, the stun buildup that I have here on Ruthless, and we'll probably add some more gems in here. I'm still tinkering with the basic attack in order to get more stun buildup. It helps with the bossing stun for get those Sunder one shots still, just like previously. Still the same premeditation for empowered, and then I'm using life tap so that way it doesn't cost mana because I have some mana issues. I do think there's something to be said. You could probably come down here and grab this, which recovers life and mana when you use a war cry and gives you war cry speed, more so that we're constantly recovering. I don't have it at the moment. I'm debating taking it. It would help me a little bit with both countering the life tap effect of this, but also maybe recovering mana. And the cool thing about this is when you spam this, it actually is like shoving mobs back. So if you're getting surrounded, you could probably just straight up spam this nonstop and then just get out. So I think that there's probably something to be said for taking that node as well if you're struggling with mana issues, sort of like I am. I don't really use the totem. You could use the totem if you want. I probably would drop the totem and run something else when I can, or I get more spirit to run another buff there. If you look here, Inferno Cry, I do have Inferno Cry. I don't use it very often. It's not really a main crucial point. I have Corrupting Cry on it. You could probably add the Corrupting Cry instead onto your Seismic Cry if you want. This isn't really like a mega deal. Corrupting Cry actually deals damage based upon your strength. So this actually, I probably should actually put this on Seismic Cry, to be honest. This is where I'm at with the in-game, but I'm not like 100% completely done with the build. I'm still working on it here. Leap Slam, I just have tempo faster and it costs less. I just use this as a get out of jail free card. If I get surrounded too much and I can't get out, I just try to Leap Slam out. Herald of Ash with Clarity gives me some more mana regen. And then Hammer of the Gods here, Lacerate. So it's a chance to bleed. And this can be nice because the way bleed works is it's depending upon how big of a hit you do, and Hammer Gods is like your biggest hit you do, so you hit him with like kind of a big bleed. I think this is why when I was looking at Alkaiser and talking to him, he's probably running bleed, is because I think he's, instead of Sunder, he's using Hammer of the Gods to get damage. So you could run his version of it, which is you use Hammer of the Gods and you spice this move up instead, and you get a big bleed, and then you aggravate the bleed. I like Sunder instead because I like actually like hitting as opposed to like I have a cast time, and this has a long cast time, so I've had good success with Sunder, so I'm just sticking what I know. But I know this is a variant that you can use. Like you could still use Stampede for the clear, and then you could use Hammer of the Gods in order to get like a big bleed. But instead I'm just using it where I get a bleed, executes with more damage, and it's ancestrally boosted. So I just use it for the slam. It bleeds them, and then that gives me Sunder increased damage. I could probably honestly also put the Lacerate literally on my base attack just so that I know they're bleeding from me multiple hitting it to try to stun the boss or something, and that would give me the 30% more as well. But Hammer of the Gods is strong like it is with only a 3 socket, enough to help me clear some mobs like you saw in the gameplay footage. So I really use it as like, okay, I need to cast something faster than Sunder and then put a shield up and wait it out, and it kind of does a clear. I'm using some life leech in my gear, and I'll show you the gear in a moment, so it does kind of give me a heal when it has this big AoE hit too. So Hammer of the Gods has more potential that I have yet to unlock. I'm mostly focused on Sunder and then Stampede for the clear. Now let me show you my gear. Start with the gloves. As much attack speed as I can get in flat physical. For more damage, but mostly that attack speed. Again, I really like to have this Sunder not take as long as possible. This Sunder is actually 30% faster than it was in the previous video, which is actually very noticeable, at least for me. The belt here is just strength, lightning resistance, some HP just to help with resistances, and I'll keep this stat open so you can see my stats while I go through it here. The boots are 30% movement speed. I think this is crucial. You should have movement speed. You need to dodge shit, and you also need to be able to run away long enough to like give yourself the chance to hit the Sunder. So I think you should get movement speed for sure. Some life, armor, fire and cold resistance. I'm armor stacking as much as I can. So, you know, a little bit of life regen on there. Nothing crazy, not crazy boots or anything. Chest plate's all right. Some HP, 150 HP, some fire and cold resistance, some armor, more lightning resistance. Just pretty standard stuff here. The amulet is like a 5 Exalt amulet, you know, gives me some resistances, 147 life there, man. It doesn't matter too much, but it does help to give me a little bit more mana. I allocated defensive reflexes, which just gives me some more block and mana gain on block to, again, help with some of the mana issues I'm having. It's mostly here just to give me, you know, 18 strength and resistances and some HP, and I just needed strength at the time, so that just happens to be what it is. The helmet's okay. Lightning and fire resistance, not that much HP, but I needed the strength again. I definitely could get a better helmet for sure. The shield is not too bad because it has 21 Chaos Res. I really think you should get Chaos Res if you can. Chaos will one-shot you all the time in the maps, especially as you get to higher tier maps, so I highly recommend having as much Chaos Resistance as you can possibly get. Obviously, we're going to use the Raise the Shield to block too. If you're running a weapon swap with another one here, try not to put, I made this mistake where I put the Raise Shield as the other one, and I'd raise this and swap it, and I get shot because all my resistance would stack, so just a mistake you can make. And then the weapon here, basically it's just as much physical as you can get, man. Just slam that with as much physical as you can get. Flat physical percentage, plus to all melee skills is not really required. I would rather actually have attack speed instead. Critical damage bonus is nice for Sunder because you get the guaranteed crit from Sunder when they're fully armor broken. Again, not required. I'd rather have attack speed. I'd rather have strength for the HP because strength does equal HP as well. You get 2 HP for every strength. It's just an added bonus. So just where I am currently at with this. Also, something to keep in mind is if the weapon has strength and you're really struggling to wear it, you can actually undo the Giant's Note, put on the weapon that has strength. Now you have more strength, then put the Giant's Blood back on. And if that actually still gives you enough strength at the last second, there you go, you got it. So you can kind of like get the gear on, get the strength level, and then enable Giant's Blood to be able to keep it, for instance, too. So just a little tip there. Okay, so that's my gear. Oh, the rings, strength on the rings, max life, resistances, chaos res. Just trying to get as much chaos res as I can. Again, max life, chaos res, normal resistances, about it. These rings aren't super special. They're just, all of my gear is kind of mid. To be honest, none of this is like giga amazing or anything. The weapon's probably my best piece of gear just because it has a lot of damage. Okay, so that's basically my full setup, and I'm also running the Chaos Resistance Charm because, again, Chaos Resistance is absolutely ridiculous. It works great. I'm able to kill bosses. I actually did the 3rd trial on Sanctum and was able to do it, and then the fourth trial, I did Ultimatum with the Trial Master boss, who is super cool, was able to beat that as well. Feel very tanky, sitting just under 4,000 HP, resistance is almost maxed, block, I get block higher. I would probably like some more block percentage, but as it stands, I'm liking the build a lot. It's working great. It got me to the end game. It's definitely better than the first iteration of it, and people have been asking for this video all the time, so I hope it helped. Hope you enjoy it. In no way am I saying this is the best warrior build out there. I am saying it got me to the end of the game, pretty much, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And, you know, my gear isn't super crazy. I mean, this is achievable, and I was, you know, able to achieve it, so I think you can get that out there and do it as well. So that's about it. Love you all. Consider subscribing if you want more warrior-related content or just Path of Exile 2 in general. I'm pretty much making a ton of stuff about it. Lots of new subs this month. I appreciate 21,000 new subscribers. All right, and 26,000 subscribers on Twitch. You guys are being crazy supportive, and I really appreciate that. I'm live every day, and you can catch me at twitch.tv/StarWithMicrotransaction. Links down below. If you're interested, live at 11 a.m. PST every single day. That's it, and I'll see you there. If you have any questions, come on by.